everyone likes to offer their opinion, don't they? It excited me more thinking I could run my own business than it did dog training. Pissing about in my 20s and just getting drunk and having that salary coming in. My best month was 25k.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk Dog Business. Today we are going to focus on Joe Moorcroft's journey.
Love a little bit of singing.
Yep. I feel like we need to open every episode with a little dancey song. So, last episode we talked about my story.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about your version.
Feels a bit like This Is Your Life.
It does, my Michael Espel. Get my big red book out.
Yeah.
It would be pink and like funky if it was us there.
Yeah.
Would it? It wouldn't be leather bound.
No. Well, like a child pop-up book where you've got some like rave music coming out there instead.
Yeah, and also it would have no more scratching down the spine.
We've thought about this far too much considering it's only just coming to our heads.
Okay. I'm Michael Espel, so I'm going to ask you to take it right back.
Right back.
Let's go right back to small infant. No, we're not going to go that far back. We won't go that far back. Let's go back to your pre-dog trainer life.
Pre-dog trainer life.
So tell me how it all started for you as an adult, but before you got into that dog trainer journey, because your story is very different from mine. So.
Well, I feel like it's worth mentioning that I have always liked animals. That has always been my thing. I am the only person in my family that has liked animals. So I didn't grow up with dogs, wasn't allowed pets, didn't have anything. Somehow managed to persuade a guinea pig in teenage years. But that's as far as it went.
You've always been a black sheep.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So that is the context, because I think for a lot of trainers out there, potentially, they've kind of grown up with animals and it's become a bit of a thing. But I was very much into, I think I was just brought up to go and get a job, do well, but do well, but do well, if that makes sense. Like aim high on everything. So any job that I had, so I'd stayed within the same industry. So from age 16, 17, I was doing bits of work for an ad agency. Well, it was a recruitment ad agency back then, in the newspaper. Actually buy space in the newspaper and post an advert, because the tinterweb didn't really exist. And that's how I started my career. I got thrown into speaking on the telephone straight away, and which is really scary when you're like 16, 17 and you have to do it in front of a load of adults, which are now our age. Like, oh. But stayed within that industry, in the agency world, for like 15 years, pretty much. Worked my way up to account director on some really large accounts, worked on automotive brands like Skoda, and did all of that before I hit 30, which I was really proud of. Wanted to hit that account director at age 30, so I'd done it by the time I was 29. Got my company car, was on big bonuses, hanging out in the senior team, and on the outside of it, life was looking pretty well, like really decent salary. Couldn't really want for anything. Got to go out of a weekend on the piss, pretty much. I'd managed to buy my own. I'd moved out when I was 18, managed to get my own rental by myself. Then they were building new build flats opposite where I was renting. Bought that by the time I was 21 by myself through the jobs that I'd been working. And then met Darren. We wanted a dog, wanted a husky, got a husky. That's where my dog training began.
So when you got your husky, I think you've been pretty lucky with your dogs, to be honest.
Excuse me.
Well,
Skill.
Was it as much of a shock as everybody listening is going to be like, oh, husky? Or did you, because, I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't cope with a husky very well.
Oh, do you know what? It's a hard question to answer, isn't it? Because I think even since I've become a parent, it's that whole nature-nurture argument. Like, what is actually like in the bones, so to speak. And Leica is a very good dog. She is incredibly... She is very independent. She is very quick to pick things up. She likes to learn. So arguably, I suppose, I found her an easy dog because I wanted to put work into her. Whereas I think actually her in a different set of hands, she'd have been a challenging dog.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to kind of ask really, is like, how did you go in with the mindset of going, this is a challenge and I'm willing to rise to that challenge, and therefore that dog trainer kind of like wasn't there at that time, but like that almost like led you into that path because you, I mean, I know you're a very determined person and I know that you will make things work, but it's just also trying to figure out like how much was nature and nurture for you as a dog trainer.
Yeah, it's an interesting point actually. So I got told by, everyone likes to offer their opinion, don't they? Doesn't matter what it is. As soon as you say something, there are a million people there to meet you with an opinion. And the opinion was, don't get a husky for your first dog. You idiot. You fool. They are not a pet dog. They're a working dog. All the things I found myself thinking over the years when other people say this to me. And then I have to remind myself that I once was that person. And it worked out well for me. So I went in with going, do you know what? You keep telling me I can't do this and I will prove you wrong. Like, 2 fingers up to you. I will make this happen. So we got her. Although actually during that period I did change my mind a few times and we went and looked at labs. And all these
Lab?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because
imagine you with a lab.
No. And I didn't like that dog. For me, I was like, it's not what I wanted. I was like, I wanted a husky. So even after deliberating and listening to the majority, I was like, no, I'm going to go with my gut and I will make this work and I will not fail at this.
Bit like when you bought your latest car.
Yeah. It's been fine.
I know,
One little
I
thing. But I was like, no, I'm going to make it happen. And I just read up on and it's interesting, isn't it, when you start looking back, because I was always interested in psychology and I did psychology at A level. And, the whole typical trajectory is, you do your college and then you go to uni. And I did think about going to uni to do psychology. And my brain went, I don't really know what I'd do with a job from that though. So I'm going to go and work instead. And I'm going to figure out what I want to do.
I thought that, same thing. I was like, what can I do with that?
Yeah. It's crazy, really. Isn't it? Imagine if we'd have gone down that route.
I know.
Be clinical psychologists by now. I think we kind of are, though.
Yeah, I think we are. So, like, there you are. You've got your dog. You absorbed everything you could training-wise. And you realised that I'm actually pretty good at this.
Well, sort of. So, at that time, a particular TV show was very, very popular.
Oh, yeah.
And that is honestly how I started my dog training journey. So Cesar Millan was huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And at that time, whether or not I just didn't know anything, that was the only thing that I felt was available. I genuinely didn't know anything. It was just, this guy's on TV. You're amazing, because I know nothing. Like, my whole life has just been in an office, pretty much. And I loved it. I was just fascinated by it. I loved watching it. I loved trying to figure out the psychology behind it all, and did some research. So at this time as well, we'd enrolled into a local kennel club, like a 40 quid thing for...
Oh my God.
Yeah. But weirdly, I loved it because I was doing something with her and she was fucking brilliant at it. It was such a buzz, like it was such a thrill to go, oh, this dog's doing this thing that, oh my God, it was amazing. And again, for me, like, I'd never grown up with anything. So the fact that I was able to communicate to this animal, I was like, oh, I just found it absolutely fascinating and just loved it and really got the bug for it. So there's a few things happening. So I was doing the kennel club, and then at the same time, I wanted to throw everything into her. So I invested in a private one-to-one coach, not because I was having any issues, but because I just genuinely wanted to keep learning and absorbing. I was like, right, give me some more stuff to do.
You are the dream client so far.
Yeah. Well, so this trainer came out. The company was Barkbusters, and this guy came out, big burly guy, boots, walking trousers type attire, rocks up into my house and pulls those little like the blue cover slips for your boots. So he put those over his boots to come into the house. Yeah, I was like, okay. And then we sit down and we start talking about and I'm there like really eager to learn. And so I'd bought, what did I buy? You could buy, I forget the time period now. You could buy like a short time period. I can't remember if it was a number of sessions or if it was a few months. Or you could buy like a 12-month, either 12 months or like lifetime access to them or something. And the investment wasn't actually that high, although at the time it felt really high, because I think it was about $495 or something for maybe that 12-month or lifetime thing. I can't really remember what it was. But there was no like parameters set around it, so how often you could use it or any of that, because I didn't really look into it. But he went off and trained in a certain way where essentially I just got told to bark at the dog. I got given a coin bag and I had to throw it at the door if she was whining or anything like that. And I didn't know anything, so I was just, yeah, okay, cool, I'll do these things. I felt like an idiot though, because I was walking around the park, and I'm going to do this away from the microphone. But if she was doing something that I didn't like, you then had to go, bah!
No.
Yeah. So I'm walking around.
Why?
And I remember bringing my mum on one of these training sessions, and we're stood in the park and she's on a long line. Not my mum. the dog
Your mum's on a long line.
The dog's on a long line.
Did you bark at your mum?
Barked at everyone, yeah. And I'm there telling Sharon, I was like, right, come on, because this guy's with us as well. And he's there going, right, come on, like she's now about to reach the end of that long line, so go, bah! And I was like,
No
bah!
way.
Walking around the streets, just doing this weird bah noise at the dog.
Did she take any notice?
No. Not in the slightest. But again, to me, I was like, oh, well, this is just what I'm learning. This is all it is. And then again with Caesar, and it was all this pack mentality and so on and so forth. So I was like, oh, again, really interesting. I just found it really fascinating. So then I'd found the UK Dog Whisperer, and I went on a trainer's course to become a dog trainer, and it was in a village hall, and I got to take the dog with me, and it was essentially like a lecture setup. So you wasn't training the dog, you were watching a PowerPoint presentation essentially, and like I was just chilling on the floor next to me. I don't really know why we got to take the dogs.
I was going to say, why did you not do any practical?
No. But that was a 2-day thing. And you know when you get like these Facebook memories pop up?
Yeah.
So it popped up and it was me sat, well, I'd taken a picture of the screen going like, oh, look, my dog training journey is beginning. I'm learning how to be a trainer from these 2 days. And I got my certificate at the end of it to say certified behaviourist. I was like, brilliant.
No practical stuff.
I've done my thing. And it was very, because the guy who did it, I think he said he'd gone out and worked with Caesar, and he asked permission to have that phrase of the UK Dog Whisperer, because that was Caesar's thing, wasn't it? So I did my 2-day thing there, and then I went and said, right, okay, I've got some sessions, and I can't remember if they taught you that or not, because I don't know where I would have got that information from. But that's when I was going out and going like, right, here's a one-off session for like 30 quid, and you could get like 3 sessions for 150, whatever it was. That kind of staggered price. And I did well with selling those. I had no fucking clue what I was doing when I went out on these appointments. None whatsoever. But I went out and I was doing it, and I remember I used to get a lot of Husky clients back then because of what I've got. And I remember this one Husky jumping up at me, and the woman was like, I want to say jumping up, you know, the intense jumping up where you're kind of like pinned against a wall and it's just relentless, and you're like, fucking hell, I really don't know how to stop this here, because my skill set was so poor, because actually I hadn't been taught anything aside from
that in the 2 days.
No. So my whole experience of dog training so far was quite strict obedience with the Kennel Club over a 6-week period in a puppy class. The barking man and the coin man, and now this pack leader mentality. That's all I knew. And the owner of this husky, she was like, should I alpha roll him? And I'm like, yeah, that's what you should do.
God.
So I laugh now out of like cringe more than anything. But yeah, so she pins this dog to the floor and she's looking at me for guidance and I'm looking at her going,
For guidance.
well, he's not jumping now. So I just had no clue what I was doing. Not a clue on earth. And I was just trying to figure out things as I kind of went along. But in my head, I'd been told I was a behaviourist now.
Yeah, yeah.
So even though I knew it, like I knew I wasn't, but I also was, if that makes sense. But I went out and I just kept buying books because again, it was at that time when books are more available than anything else. And I just started reading loads of things and I was like, oh, okay, so this is, and I just taught myself essentially through books. And then I remember talking to, it was a friend of my mum's actually, nothing to do with dogs, but we ended up having this conversation. And I think she said she'd either done some work or she knew somebody who worked at the Dogs Trust. And I was like, oh, I'd love to get into that because I'm in my really early stages of dog training and I really want to work with dogs. And I hadn't really thought about making this a full-time career yet, but I was just really eager to learn and just wanted to keep doing stuff. And she was like, yeah, you'll need to, but they will only take people that have studied under Sarah Whitehead. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Who's that? Like, no idea. Let's go and have a look. So then did some research on Sarah. And because I got told that that's what Dogs Trust wanted, I just enrolled with Sarah. And then like my mind was like, oh my fucking God, like a completely different world this is now. And I had to do, so at that time, you had to do Sarah's 3-day practical course down at Battersea in Windsor. So I did my 2-3 days there and we learned to teach a down, stay and a retrieve or something like that. So it was only like 3 exercises, but I was like, oh, okay. So then again, I felt like I've got a little bit more knowledge now. So then I went out and I started incorporating that. So bearing in mind, like people are calling me for all these things and all I've got in my toolkit now is I can teach them to sit, do a down, do a retrieve, and a walk on lead. So I can teach those 4 things. Doesn't matter what thing you're coming to me for, that's all I was teaching. And I wove my way around it.
Wow.
So that's how I started.
And then after Sarah Whitehead, what did you do? You did RMDT and stuff, didn't you, after?
Well, so Sarah, I ended up working with her for about 2 years. So at that time, she was only working with like 30 people in the whole of the UK. And she'd taken them on as her method trainers. And it was essentially like one-to-one group coaching. We caught up regularly on Zoom and in person, and I got to meet a cohort, and then I met some incredible people in that cohort where we were learning business stuff and we were learning more and more about dog stuff. Like my mind and my knowledge just kept expanding and my skill set got better. And then you start hearing about like, oh, actually there's more dog things out there than I realised. I remember saying to one of my friends who I met in that group, oh, look, like setting up a dog training business in Solihull's going to be fine because there's nobody here doing it. She's like, of course there will be people doing it. I was like, well, I haven't seen anybody, but of course, like, I was never looking for it. So it wasn't on my radar in the slightest.
Like the car that you want and you keep seeing it then.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, there is actually quite a few people here doing it. Ooh. But I just stayed in my own lane and just kept doing what I was doing and really started to grow Poor Education.
So, like, at this stage, you're still just almost like the GP, though. You're still
Total GP. And I'm still working a full-time job.
And so you're still at the full-time job and you are just out there learning all this stuff, trying to incorporate it in, shoehorning it in like a lot of us do.
Mm-hmm.
So where did your kind of like, because your journey then, like there's probably more to it than this, but your journey then took you into like the business world. And this is where I think it separates most people out, because you started looking outside of the industry to better your business So how did that happen? How did you go from like being a bit of a less scratty dog trainer than me, but then thinking like, I need to learn some of this to start incorporating it in the business? Where does that happen?
So I think the initial intention was always to, like, I knew I really wanted to run it as a business. I wanted to, I don't know, it excited me more thinking I could run my own business than it did dog training. And I loved the dog training and I loved learning the psychology and everything behind it. And I still stand by that now. Like, absolutely geeked out on anything I could to learn about it. Just, you know, when you're just that motivated by something that just lights you. And I was looking around all these people going like, oh, I'm so jealous. Like, this is your full-time job. This is what you do. And at that time, it's like, I still loved my actual job, even though I was working like 80-hour weeks. But it's all I'd known. Like, that was my whole life. And I did love it. And I did thrive off the pressure. And that's a whole other thing in itself. But I think I got to that point where I was like, I am working so many hours, and I could see that my life was going in that direction of Darren and I were starting to get serious. We'd got a house at this point. We weren't engaged, and we was just like, do you know what I mean? Like, your life shifts a little bit. I'd gone from being pissing about in my 20s and just getting drunk and having that salary coming in to, actually, no, like, I do want this and I need to take this seriously. And I don't know, I've just always had such high aspirations for myself, and I've loved the business stuff, and I had a lot of experience in doing it with my actual job, that I thought, I want to make money off of this. I want to make really good money of doing something I enjoy. And I love dog training. I love it, and I want to make it work. And I think at that time, because my salary, I was bringing in like the best part of 5k months, and I had my company car and I had decent bonuses, I was like, I want to match that. So it wasn't an option to keep offering £30 sessions or £350 for 5 sessions. It was not an option in the slightest, because like, I'm never going to be able to match my salary. And that's the lifestyle I've become accustomed to.
So when did you go, it's going to happen? Because this is the situation that a lot of people are in.
Mm-hmm.
There's people out there listening to this that might be like, that's me. I've got this really high-powered job. I hate it. Maybe. I know you loved yours, but there's people out there that are like completely done with that kind of life, corporate life, and want to do dog training because that sounds like a better life in theory. And it can absolutely be if you take the right steps, obviously. But it's a bit of a rose-tinted view sometimes, I suppose, isn't it? Or it's like, I want to do it, but I don't know when is the time, because when is someone ever ready? Like, we talk about this a lot and go like, when do you make that jump? Like, there's always something that could stop you. There's always a reason not to. Money's not great at the moment, and timing's not great. I've got this coming up, that coming up, holiday, this holiday. And it's the same when we're trying to sell dog training services. You're selling like a 3-month, 6-month program. I'm going on holiday. Like, there's always these kinds of things. So how do you overcome that? And where do you, like, I know you're a very risk averse, but not a risk averse. It's the complete opposite to that. Like, you're quite somebody who will take leaps of faith, and that is your personality. However, you've still got to have that like fear around it.
And at that time, it was, I am quite pro risk, but there was still that, it's because again, like, I didn't grow up in a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't like my whole family is very risk adverse. Like, they're very safety. They're very, don't spend money if you haven't got it. Never get a credit card. Never do this. And I was like, well, I've done all of this. So very much a black sheep. But I started with going, right, I'm just going to commit to proving to myself that I can do it. Because currently I've now told myself the story that it's fine to fill an evening, because people work full time and then they're only going to want evening sessions anyway, all weekend. So at this point, I've been working like 3 years in dog training with just doing evenings and weekends on top of already like an 80-hour work week. It's mad when you look back on what you do. And I thought, right, I need to prove to myself that I can deliver sessions during the daytime, because arguably, like, I'm just going to swap out one job for another. What I'm going to do is sit around all day, like, 9 till 5, Monday through Friday, just twiddling my thumbs
Well,
until the evening comes.
That's the reason I did dog walking, because I thought there's not enough call for it in the day.
Yeah. So I asked my boss if I could drop a Friday, and I just went part-time. I was like, I just want to drop a Friday, and can I trial it for 3 months and see how we get on? And I'd been with this company for like 7 years. So he was like, really? I was like, yes, please. And I just did that. And I remember like that first Friday I had off, I was like, what do I do? Because of course you haven't got time to go and build lead generation or anything whilst you're working such a really high pressure job that I was in. But then I just started offering Friday days out when some of the inquiries were coming in, and they were like, yeah, cool, I can do that. I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing some Friday sessions, and then I thought, okay, fuck it. I've proven the concept now. I'm going to do it. And then they offered me a promotion with a fuck ton more money. And I took it.
Oh.
And I stayed there an extra year. Yeah. But still with my Friday off. So I had the promotion, my Friday off, and I was like, oh, this is quite good, like decent cash now. And then we got married, fell pregnant, had a miscarriage, and thought, fuck this, I'm not doing it now. As in the actual proper job. I was like, not doing it. And it was just from that miscarriage that I was like,
Totally changed your
yep, so I'm done,
life.
not doing it anymore. Handed my notice in, had to work 6 months notice leave, and went all in on the dog training. And it was at that point where I was like, something's got to change now. And I got gifted a ticket to a free 2-hour business group session thing that was just around the corner from me. And like I'd already been looking into loads of business stuff anyway, because that was my interest. I was like, how can I make this work? I need to make this work. And went to this thing and was just like, oh my God, this is working. This is absolutely going to happen.
But this business thing was nothing to do with dog training.
Nothing to do with dog training, no.
That's the big thing here.
Yeah. So I'd spent the last several years going to dog conferences, investing in dog courses, like say like the IMDT stuff and various like socks and anything that come up, Shikashio stuff, Brophy, all of that stuff, like dog training college, DTC, all of that stuff is in my head bank of library of dog knowledge that's out there.
And by this point, you could deal with the husky jumping up you.
Yeah,
if that arose again.
Yes,
cool. Okay.
We were fine. I didn't need to bark at the dog or pin him to the floor. I had different techniques in my toolkit now, and I just thought I'm going to do something different. And then when I heard the figures that were being discussed in this business room, and they're making 5k, 10k, 20k months in some, I was like, fucking hell! I was like, I want that. That's exactly what I want.
And they're all different,
totally different businesses. They were like, I don't even know what some of them were, but I mean, maybe there were some business coaches in there, like some social media stuff, or not. One part of my brain thought, well, that's okay for you because you're in that industry. I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. I'm going to go out and do it.
See, that's the interesting part, is that it never stopped you because there was no one else in that room that was a dog trainer or had a
It
dog
didn't
business.
even enter my head. I was
And
like,
yet
I'm a
for
business
me,
owner.
That would have literally, I'd have felt complete. Wow, the first time like I went with you to a business event, I was like, Jesus Christ, feels so out my depth. So that naturally would have been my reaction, but yours was just like, yeah, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, I was just like, I need to know how. I was already making decent money, so I was quite impressed that in my first year of pissing about as a dog trainer, I use that term loosely, I'd made 30k in my first year. So I was like, oh, okay.
Most people don't even break even.
No, and that was alongside my full-time job. So then I just kept getting better each year. And then when I finally got my shit together and did it properly, my lowest month was... No, my first month I did 14k in 1 month. My best month was 25k. And within the rest, I was averaging 5-6k months.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yep, I'm doing it.
I can see it now, but at the top, like, I remember you telling me this story, like of this when we met, and I was like, no fucking way, is that actually possible? I just remember thinking, no, it's out of my league. That initial thought, and then I was like, no, it's not. I could do that too.
Yeah, I loved it. I got such a buzz off of it.
Okay, so can we then, right? You know, we talk about who you surround yourself with. At that time, when you were doing awesome things, were you in those communities, and were you up against people doing 30 quid a session? Like, did that affect you? If you were, did you tell them about what you were doing? And I want to sort of explore that like judgment piece, if there was any of that, or did it affect your mindset in any way?
It's interesting because as much as I was in the dog world of all the CPD stuff and all those Facebook groups as they started to emerge, and like I said, like doing the DTC courses, and you're kind of within a little cohort of people for like 6 months, and some of the other courses you don't really get to speak to anybody, but sometimes there's a Facebook group and the conferences and all of that. Not one part of me wanted to listen to any of the business stuff. I didn't feel like it applied to me in the slightest, because I was like, I'm not running my business like that. I'm not doing £30 stuff. Like, I did it initially but I was like, I did it initially because I was dabbling in learning knowledge, and it wasn't my intention to do the business. I was like, I'm just kind of curious I just wanted to get hands on with dogs, to be honest. Like, that was my initial thing, because I had the full-time job and I was sorted with that. So I didn't really care about the money bit. It kind of grew as I was like, oh, I really wanted to be a business owner, doing something I love. I didn't think I want to go and work with dogs. It's like, I want to be a business owner doing something I love, which happens to be dogs.
And then because that thought process of like, I don't feel like I'm going to fail at all. Like that, is that down to your self-belief in you, or is that down to the belief of the mentors or the business stuff that you've just trusted in?
I think all of the above, because I think if you haven't got that determination within yourself to go, like we did it on our last episode with you, and going like, if you don't take that ownership yourself, and if you don't believe wholeheartedly that you are going to do something that you are being told, like if you've made a decision to invest in something, fucking listen. Because if you're not going to listen, like what's the point? And if you're not going to do, what's the point? Just don't invest to save your money. And for me, I was like, it's the same thing. It's like, if I'm showing up, I'm showing up. Like, I'm going to 10x anything that I'm going to put that effort in, and I'm going to make something work. And I remember sitting in this room where I experienced my first upsell bit, and all of my excuses were coming out. It's like, oh, I can't do it. I can't afford it.
So they're trying to upsell to you, just to be really clear.
And I was like, I can't afford it. I was like, of course you can't afford it. What if you could? And I was like, well, if I could, I'd be fucking in it, wouldn't I? I was like, okay, when are you going to join then? I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I was like, well, these are the dates available. Where's your diary? I was like, and I lied. I was like, it's at home and it's a paper diary. Because it was. But I lied because it was in my bag. But they knew it. They knew everything. They were like, you would never come out without your diary. So where is it? And I was like, you bastard. It's in my bag. So I got my big black diary out. And he was like, right, what are you doing on these dates? And I was like, oh. It's not that simple, because I'd not long had Clay. Actually, do you know what? I honestly can't remember. These last few years are such a blur. It was either Clay or Hood. No. Yeah, I think it was Clay. I was like, I've not long had Clay. I need to sort childcare out. And so everything was just excuse. And I heard myself and I was like, oh, fuck's sake, just do it. And it was the scariest investment I've done. And now I'd spent a lot on other things, and certainly like all the dog knowledge stuff. I remember signing up to Sarah Whitehead initially, actually, to work with her for a year. At that time, it was like $5,000. And I was like...
A lot back then, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I have not got that. Like, because it's weird, isn't it? Because like, you technically have in some ways, because if you've got little pots of savings, or you'll always find a way. But it's not like you've got cash sat there purposely to invest
No, but it
in
is a
these
business
courses
expense
or
as
all
well,
of this.
like-
And I wasn't even thinking of any of it, but I did that big investment with Sarah. And then that was kind of like the start. And then you'd invest in all these conferences and stuff like that. But this investment was different, and it was significant. It was over 10K.
Ooh.
And I bought it. I had a credit card. And I was like, and I didn't tell Darren. Actually, no, I lied. I did tell Darren, and I told him that my friend had bought it for me.
Oh.
He knew I was like, but he didn't tell me until a few days later.
Okay.
But yeah, did that investment, and then I was like, I am fucking making this money back.
And what did that investment look like? So what did you get for that investment?
12 months, 1 day a month, group coaching.
And that was ECA, Elite Closing Academy. So that was sales, how to be an awesome, integrity-based salesperson.
Yep.
And how did that elevate your business?
Oh, I will never be able to put into words like the power that community gave me. It totally, I genuinely believe that I always had this in me, and I don't feel like anybody saw it. And being around Matt and that community, I don't even want to say like it molded me. I know I always had it in me, and he brought it out, and I was able to make it my own, and I was able to apply it in a way that totally transformed my life. And the fact that some of those big months, like those 22Ks and those 14Ks, were during COVID, when nobody else is working and everyone's scratching. And I remember even signing up to that Socks Business in a Box, selling a online done for you program to clients that my face isn't even on it. It was Joe, Nando and Dean. And I'm going, oh yeah, look, I've hired these trainers to come in. Here you go. Here's a course. Buy it through me. 50 quid. Hardly sold any. Yeah, my own thing. 14K in 1 month. Because I adapted, and I was like, I'm still going to do this. Like, nothing's going to stop me from doing this.
So you found your people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, at that time, I think I had everything against me as well, because when I did make that big investment, I was pregnant with Hudson, and COVID hit, and my house was being renovated. I was living in 2 rooms in a poxy little cottage, and the dogs. It was carnage. Absolute carnage.
When people are listening to this thinking they can't do it, listen to what you're saying. You absolutely can.
Mm. But it's having that whole belief system.
It's the mindset though, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not. It's everything that's kind of made you to that point, and previous experiences, like we've talked about before, have a huge impact. But having that like self-belief, having that mindset, being surrounded by those people that are going to get you through every step. And then since that point, you've now signed up for lifetime with Matt and Elite Closing Academy.
I would say I've invested over 50K in that company over the years.
But that's how much value that has brought to you and continues to bring.
Yeah. And I think what I will say is that I've also made some poor investment decisions as well with coaching, and it's not paid off. And arguably, and I think this is the thing when people talk about coaching and mentors, there is only so many ways you can teach something. Like, it is what it is to a degree. Like the same when you're learning dog training. There's not much nuance somebody else can give. It's just their version and their flavour of it. Yeah, it's like you can only, like Pavlov did Pavlov. Nobody can teach it any different. But it's that application bit, and it's your personality injection, and it's all of that. So arguably, knowledge just gets passed down from person to person to person. And it's surrounding yourself with all these different people. And I think what makes a coach so individual is their personal experiences, their life experience, the people that they hang around with, what they are like as a human being, as an individual, and do you connect with that person? Because I know there are a lot of people that have joined ECA thinking, oh, well, you've had great success, or I know people within that community that obviously they will sing ECA's praises, couldn't think of the word then, and they've got people in and then they've epically failed. But it's just because it wasn't necessarily the right person for that individual, or they've gone in based on a recommendation without doing that. Is this right for me? Am I willing to put everything into it? Am I not, what? And I think sometimes the expectation is because it works really well for some people, well, if I pay you that, then I'm guaranteed the same result. It's like, it's not. It has to be down to you as that individual. And I know this because I've had staff over the years that I have put through that ECA course. So technically they've learnt the same skills, like I've been coaching them, and how we adapt it in our business, how I've used it, because then I'm not just using ECA, I'm using everything within me. And the people that I've put through and paid for them to go into that program, they've been shit at it. Absolutely shit. So it begs that question of where's the bad element in that? Is it the ECA coaching? Is it my coaching? Is it that individual's ability to retain it and use it? Is it like there's a broken link somewhere? But we have to look at, okay, right, it's the individual bit. And for me, I would go, well, in that scenario, I've just taken the wrong people on.
Yeah.
So it's not that the thing doesn't work. It's like the thing doesn't work for that person because that person is full of their own blocks and their own shit and all of that. And they're not ready to hear it and they're not ready to do this work that's involved. So it's not that it doesn't work. They're just not ready for it.
Yeah. So interesting, isn't it? When you actually, my stomach's making weird noises. Like when you look at it in that way, it is all just joined together, isn't it? Like there is not one standalone reason why something doesn't work or why something does work.
No, because even when I look back through my career of being in agency world, that is not an easy job. That is definitely a very specific type of person that can cope with that type of role. It is high pressure, long hours, little thanks, lots of swearing. Wonder where I get my swearing from. Lots of being shoved off a cliff into a deep end full of piranhas. Like, it is really, really intense. You are getting shouted at daily. Like, every hour, I would say, I've got a client effing and blinding at me. And you've got no support from your superiors because ultimately the client relationship comes first. And somehow I did 15 years in that and I loved it. And there would be people that come into that job and I was like, you are not going to last in this. Like, it's just no chance.
Were the people that surprised you, though, that you thought would never last?
No.
Actually. Oh, no. So no. Right.
I was always dead on the money. Because you have to be a certain type of person. And again, like, arguably, that's not... I mean, you could look at it as a business failing, that they're not coaching and helping that staff come through and all of that. But I was like, it's just that type of role. And it is what it is. And it's for some people and it's not for others. Like, and I think we get so hung up sometimes on looking at it from this mentoring perspective in that person's let me down. Like, I've invested in you and you haven't fulfilled it. Sorry, but no, that's on you as the individual. Like, only you can do something about it. Like, if you walk into any job and you feel overwhelmed by it, well, A, do you know what you're getting into in the first place?
Yeah,
B,
did you ask enough questions? Yeah.
It's like, what work are you willing to put into this to make it work for you? Because to hit those months that I was having, you know, they sound like nice numbers, don't they? It's like, what, really? But it's like, well, I had to really push myself out of my comfort zone here to hit them. And I had to really look inwards and go, oh, right, I have to figure out, like, why do I not like having conversations with people? Then arguably, my life experiences of being forced to do telephone conversations in front of superiors when I was 16 in an open desk environment talking to newspapers is like, that's helped me be okay on the phone.
So as terrifying as that was then, it's actually set you up really well.
Because then I was like, well, I'm making hundreds of phone calls every single day. So making a phone call now isn't a problem. But it's that practice. It's like, what are you willing to put into it. Because arguably now I don't make as many phone calls as I would like, because I'm not in that situation where I have to. So you revert back to, oh, maybe I don't like using the telephone as much. But it's just a muscle you have to flex. It's like, it's just the same as anything. You have to practice. You have to keep doing the things that you don't want to do. You have to keep showing up. Same as like going on live videos. I hated the thought of doing that. And I'd always have to make sure like my makeup was on and I was dressed nicely and I was really happy with my appearance before I'd turn the camera on. And now it's like, you're lucky if you see me in makeup. Like, it's the complete opposite. But again, like, you grow, you get older, you practice more, things change.
Yeah. And I love this because there's so much growth that's gone on for both of us, but in different ways.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, just quickly before we finish, it's like that growth between us as well. I think that'd be a nice place to end on, actually, is like how we've had to adapt with each other's way of working, which has not been easy as well.
No, it's a huge challenge. And I think it's being adult enough to have these hard conversations and be open and go, okay, my life experiences and my past experiences have led me to believe that this decision right here, right now is the right thing. And here's the evidence for that. And likewise, the person that you're having that conversation with, well, here's my life experiences and these are the reasons that I say this. Okay, brilliant. What can I learn from you? What can you learn from me? How can we meet in the middle? And it's the same that how you look at that with your clients and the conversations that you end up having. Your life experiences have taught you that you get to this point. Maybe I don't agree with how you've trained your dog previously. It's not my place to judge. It's my place to say, this is what I do right now. How can I help you? You've come to me for a reason. I need to make sure that I can genuinely help you. And if we both agree it's a match, brilliant. I'm not going to judge. Your life experiences have done something else. My life experiences took me on a completely different route into dog training.
But it's only doing this work on yourself that you understand that that is the right approach.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to just get defensive and be like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. Like,
yeah,
that closed mindset versus that open mindset working, and it's loggerheads. And I think this is where, like, all the business stuff has always come with personal development stuff. It's always come with working around mindset. And we don't believe you can do one without the other. And I think for us, like, if I had kind of just joined the CBA, for example, so say if we hadn't had the journey we've had with getting to, you know, work with each other and stuff in the past, and then I just joined CBA, imagine I'd never done any of that work. Like, we would not be sat here today. Not in a million years would it work.
No.
Because the old Vicky would have been like, no, not doing that. Like, why would I be open to that kind of way of thinking? And there would have been blocker after blocker after blocker, and it wouldn't work.
No.
So I love the fact that we've been able to, and we still do all the time. We are growing still every single time we do a new thing. Like, next week we fly out to Boston to speak at Kim Brophy's Legs Conference. Now that is growth. Like, that is at the moment scary shit, knowing that in a week's time we'll be out there and we've got to deliver this epic thing, which it will be. But, like, that is still us learning and growing and working on ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
And you can't do that and be a successful, you can't not do that, sorry, and be a successful business owner. It doesn't work.
No. You've got to be willing to put it all out there. Be brave, be willing to do the hard thing and look at yourself. And, yeah, you know, I think you can always have regrets and think, like, oh, I should have done that and I should have done this. And imagine if we'd have done this sooner and all that lovely stuff. But your journey is your journey and it is yours and no one's going to take that away from you. And recognising it, and, like, I do not recognise that baby trainer that was stuck with that Husky that agreed to the odor. I was like, oh yeah, just pin him on the floor because I have no idea what else to do. And there will be people out there now hating on me that I did that. But that was my journey. I didn't know anything different. That was what was available to me at the time. Now, if somebody had judged me for that and never gave me an opportunity, I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's, again, you do think, like, I've made mistakes in business. I've done things where, okay, they haven't felt the best and I've learned from it and I've learned the hard way. And I've spent money on things that haven't worked out and I've learned the hard way. But it's all growth and it's all a journey, and it's just owning it and going, okay, what can I learn from it? How can I get better? Who do I need to be around? Who can I have great conversations with? Who's going to support me when I'm feeling flat? And who's going to bring me up and motivate me to do what I'm capable of, rather than agree with me that it's hard and it's shit? Because I'd rather have somebody go, yeah, it is hard and it's shit. And it is really challenging being a business owner, and it is getting harder to be known. But what path do you want to take? Do you want to just sit and wallow, or are you going to do something about it? I was like, I'm going to take action every single time.
Mm-hmm.
You all have a choice.
What action are you going to take today after this episode? Hopefully we've inspired you to take some action, even if it's really tiny.
Yeah, got to start somewhere. Take a step. Take a step into the unknown and see where it leads.
Well, thank you for sharing your journey.
You're welcome.
Today.
This is my life.
Michael Aspel closing his big red book.
See you later, people.